Do you have an interest in making your own yarn? Have you ever wondered what in the world happens when you go from wool into yarn? What is the process? What takes place? I am definitely here to show you and demonstrate how with this tool, can be made into the yarn behind me. So, on to the next step. This is called, I have here a drop spindle. And this is a hand-turned drop spindle that my husband made for me. And it's pretty balanced. You want one that's balanced and doesn't like wiggle around too awful much. Otherwise it won't spin right. It'll spin really weird. This right here is roving. And I use roving to spin with. They have another type like pin roving. It's where the fleece, the hair, is completely all in alignment, but I found that that is a bit slipperier to work with, so I just use roving where the wool hair, well, the wool is still tangled. Not really tangled, but still, it's not laid out perfectly. So, this is the first step that we do. I take my roving and I'm going to get some, and then I'm going to put some around my arm just to keep some there, and I'm going to pull at it, and this is called drafting. And you pull at it like this, you grab, and another thing, I'm using a bottom whirl and not a top whirl. It doesn't matter which way, you know, there's a preference to some people. Some people prefer to spin like this. That would be considered the top whirl where the hook is at the top. Some people prefer to spin with the bottom whirl right here. I prefer the bottom whirls. So I've drafted my roving and then put it between my fingers like this. See the hook? Right there, and I grab it with the hook and then I spin. Take the bottom and then just spin, and the energy of the spin just works right up. Now I didn't draft as thin as I'd want to. This is pretty thick for me, but this is for demonstration purposes and it allows you to see things a lot better. So I just keep spinning. I take the bottom and I just spin it, and I'm spinning counterclockwise. It doesn't matter which way you spin. It does matter which way when you do start plying your wool. So right here, it's long enough. I got it long enough. Then you take where the hook is at, there'll be like an eyelet right here. There's a hole, and I put my end in like that, and then with the rest of the yarn, because I am creating a single ply with this, and I just have it, spin it right up on drop spindle. And so you'll want to draft, not quite sure, but take it, you draft first, then you spin. And I pinch the end where the spinning stops. I kind of have it go up. And I pinch it so it doesn't completely work its way up. You don't have to, and if you don't pinch it, you start creating kind of bumps and slubs in your work. And that honestly makes it creative also. So there's a variety of spinning techniques that you can use to create the perfect yarn for you. So I spun enough, and now I'm spinning it right onto, there we go. And I'll show you a couple single plies of yarn that I have already made with this drop spindle. Okay, here are a couple examples that I have done. This is all from my drop spindle, and I made it I drafted it so it's a lot thinner. I don't know if you can really see that, but yeah, if I put it up in my hand, you can see it. And so I have this already ready to ply, and this one. All this was done with the drop spindle. And actually it's quite relaxing, and you can travel with it, and I do have a wheel, but I have a tendency to use my drop spindle more. So what I'm gonna do, since, let's see, which way did I spun this counterclockwise, and let's see, which way did I spin this one? I spun this counterclockwise. Getting tongue twisted. So since I spun these counterclockwise, holy smokes, to ply it, I will use my drop spindle again, and I will spin them clockwise, like that. And then you have a 2-ply yarn. So another thing, when you are spinning, you want to actually know what kind of yarn you're making, whether it's fingering weight, DK, worsted, bulky, chunky. So I have some more yarn that I have taken off my drop spindle, and I allowed it to kind of curl back up on itself, and it creates a 2-ply. And so I've taken this nice little tool, and I wrapped it around the tool, and I counted how many times you wrap. So this is a wraps per inch tool. This is an inch, and you count how many times the 2-ply wraps around. If you're going 2-ply, if you're doing 1-ply, you just wrap your 1-ply around. And I counted 10. So with 10, of course this is backwards, but with 10 wraps per inch, I have created a more of a worsted weight. I don't know if you can see that, but it's 9 to 11 wraps per inch. So I've created a worsted weight, and I don't know if that's going to be very comfortable for socks, because these balls that I have were going to be made into socks. So we'll see what happens. So I hope you enjoyed. If you do have any questions about this demonstration, drop spindle demonstration, feel free to comment below, ask a pile of questions. I would love to answer them. This was a very fast demonstration. To create what you want to create, you can play around with your drafting, you can play around with your spinning, you can add colors, you can add texture. There's just a whole pile of things that you can do just with drop spindle fiber. People have put paper in locks. It's all beautiful. So if you have any questions, ask me below, and I'd love to answer anything. So you have an amazing day, and I will talk to you later.